everybody, I'm Invisiblekatana, and it's like 3:40 in the morning for me, and I saw that the Tokyo Game Show happened a couple days ago. I didn't realize, so I randomly saw some stuff. I was like, let me check out some trailers, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch the Sony press conference. I was like, bunch of trailers in one, just put it at like twice the speed, stop at the trailers, speed up again, and then it came to Resident Evil. And Resident Evil is my favorite franchise. It has been pretty much forever. Like I have like my little necklace. I wore it so much that I don't even have the cord anymore. But this is a little necklace from the special edition of Resident Evil 5, which I haven't worn in forever because I have to go get a cord. I've just been lazy. But I've loved the franchise forever. I've loved all the games, most of them at least. I mean, there are obviously those couple out there. And next year is the 20th anniversary of this really huge franchise from Capcom. It's one of arguably, well, not arguably their biggest. I'd probably just flat out go with Mega Man, but like it's one of their biggest for sure. You have like Mega Man, then Street Fighter, and then you probably have Resident Evil at number three, I'd say. And it's like it's the 20th anniversary. They make this new art, which looks really awesome. Whether it says Resident Evil or Biohazard, either way it looks cool. Probably Biohazard does look a little bit cooler because they probably do a space. If they did the American version for the title. But either way, it looks awesome. It's the iconic, first zombie turning around and everything, and it just looks really amazing. They have like all the titles up there. It's like 1, 2, 3, 0, 4, 5, and 6. And it's like next year we're gonna celebrate the anniversary, and they give us Resident Evil Umbrella Corps, which is basically Operation Raccoon City 2. Now I never played that game. I still want to get it. Honestly, I've been trying to find a way to get it super cheap because I'm not like insanely over the top about getting it. But this didn't really have me excited. I think like everybody, it didn't really have any of us excited. The first thing I thought was, all right, we're not gonna get 7. I kind of thought that. I honestly thought what we were gonna get was either a huge HD remake collection of all the games, which they've done before, obviously not here because they don't give a crap. Pretty much anything made in Japan that's awesome, we just don't get here. Even though, especially for PlayStation 3 and 4, those games, for anyone who doesn't know, those consoles are totally region free. You could easily just buy a Japanese game or a game that came out in Europe. You could buy those games and play them on your PS3 or PS4 if you got them in America because they're region free. So it's really awesome. They could totally do that. They still don't, and it's just been that way. It's just things that are either based off of anime or specific JRPG, whatever it is. It's just how they do it. So there's been a giant collection of all the games. I just thought maybe they'll announce another one for the 20th year anniversary. More games have come out since then as well. And then I was like, all right, if we don't get that, we'd probably get another HD remake. Maybe we'll get like a complete remake. Of course, everyone still wants a complete remake of Resident Evil 2 and 3 because, we have the remake of 1, which is like the best Resident Evil there is now. And we have 0 getting remade, which looks really great. And I'm probably going to end up getting that. I might get it. I didn't get the, I guess the remake of the remake because I have it on GameCube still. But it was like we get, maybe we're going to get 2 and 3 and that'll be like the huge announcement, which would have totally been fine. I think even if we didn't get a new game, everyone would have lost their crap if it was like, here's full-on remakes. Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. I would never expect those games to be remade at the same, together and we just got both. That would just be like too intense. But I was hopeful. I was like, maybe it's going to be something awesome. I figured, big collection more than specific remakes. But for the 20th anniversary, we're getting a game that is a competitive shooter. And the main problem with that is it's just going to be a 4 versus 4 shooting game focused on Umbrella. And, with the other game, Operation Raccoon City, that already had its issues. People weren't super excited. It's like, people weren't excited to play a Resident Evil game that was like a shooting game. I thought it had a really cool concept. It did some weird stuff where they basically it's like just a false timeline because some other stuff happens in the game that doesn't even happen in the original timeline. But it's just like storylines that they kind of just make up. But you get to play through. It has a story mode. It has 2 story modes even. And it's like you have the Umbrella side and you have the military side, and it seemed interesting. That's what kind of made me want to play that game. You get to see the side, this one war between these two different factions, and they have each story, and then different characters on each team have different abilities and personalities. It made it at least somewhat interesting to me, and that's kind of why I still want to play through that game, just to at least experience it a little bit and just get to play through the action, because it seemed like it had some cool elements. And then this kind of has the same thing, like some of the action had like the melee stuff with the, basically they're just, as far as I'm concerned, they're just ice hooks. That's what I'm considering them. But they have like the clashing for the melee and the dodge and counters for the melee and the zombie shield stuff and whatever the zombie jammer thing. It looked like all he did was shoot his radio, and for some reason that just attracted zombies. I was very confused because it's like typically when you call something a jammer, it stops stuff. So maybe it hid their scent or something. I don't know. It's a shooting game. It doesn't matter. But this being the game for the 20th anniversary of this huge franchise, we haven't had a game since 6, at least, going through the chronological order. We haven't really had anything since 6. And I think a lot of people were waiting for 7, despite what's happened with 6. People still want the franchise to go on. At least I do. I mean, I'm still excited for the franchise. I wanted to see where they'd go next. What were they going to do with, Jake, who they introduced in the last game? What were they going to do with Sherry, who was reintroduced to us after actually growing into an adult character from being this little girl in Resident Evil 2? What were they going to do with these two characters? What are they going to do with the other characters out in the world? They have Resident Evil Revelations now, where we've met several new characters. We've met a bunch of people I don't really give a crap about from the first game. And then we have Moira Burton, who's Barry Burton's daughter from Resident Evil Revelations 2. And there's even some stuff that goes on in that game at the end that kind of introduces the fact that in the timeline, there's going to be new villains as well. They've done some stuff, and I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't played that. Those are amazing. Like, check those out if you haven't played the Revelations games. 1 and 2 are both very amazing games, and they definitely, they tie in together, but the second game, unless they just flat out make a Revelations 3, which I would love for that to be a surprise, like, hey, we're doing this as well, because Revelations has become the more typical Resident Evil style. It has some action in it, of course, but it definitely has the scares, so I would love for that to be another random surprise. But as far as this being the game we're getting for the 20th anniversary, like, this is 2 decades of Resident Evil. We've had, not counting live action movies because no one cares, we've had 2 great 3D movies. We've had just billions of games, basically. Like 8 versions of the first game have come out. We have the original, the remake of the remake, and then there's like a million different handheld versions. Like the Game Boy version, Game Boy Color I think had one. I remember the DS had one where it was basically the first person version of the game. We've had all these different things, and this is what we got. Like, even if they came out with like another Chronicles game, I think people would have been more excited if they did. I don't know what they could have possibly done with that. I think that wouldn't have been, a great idea. But this was as bad as it got, and there's really nothing about this that excites me outside of those random little combat ideas. And I don't even see how there's going to be a story for this game, because it really does seem like it's just, hey, it's a multiplayer game. Like, it's literally just made for 4v4 multiplayer, and that's it. That's how they even say it. Like, it's a, competitive shooter game, and that's it. And they have like some cool little stuff. It's like, oh, this guy has like a mini shield on his arm, and like the melee stuff. But this is 20 years of Resident Evil, and they're going with the style that everyone hated. They're going with something that no one enjoyed from the last time. I think both fan-wise and critic-wise, it was kind of panned because it was fairly mediocre as it was, even story-wise and things, and it was just like simple, and some concepts were cool, but not like the biggest thing ever. And that's what they're doing the second time around. And honestly, when it first started and it was like a 4v4 thing, I was honestly wondering if there were even going to be zombies. Like, I know it's Resident Evil, but when they showed that, it was just like, I don't know like, should I even expect zombies at this point? That was probably the real highlight, is like they're at least actual zombies. So I don't know. But another thing is that it is Umbrella, so I don't think it's gonna really do anything. You know, it wouldn't matter if it did, because not many people are gonna know. But I don't see how this is going to do anything to advance the story, because if it's Umbrella, for anyone who's, of course, played through the most recent games, Umbrella doesn't even exist anymore. So if it's Umbrella Corps, it's like back, in Resident Evil 4, and not even 5. It's like Resident Evil 4 up to Resident Evil Degeneration, the movie, which I'm pretty sure came out like 2007 or 8, which was like right before 5, because that was the story. Like, oh, Umbrella doesn't exist anymore, and now it's this. So if it's actually called that, we're going back years, almost 10 full years as far as the games are concerned, to a time where Umbrella actually mattered and was even a thing. So it's not going to count really anything towards story. The gameplay might have some interesting mechanics, but it doesn't matter. Excuse me, because it's Resident Evil, and this is really upsetting. Like, I'm sure a lot of you guys are upset, and I would love to hear your comments, and if there's anything that even remotely gets you excited for this, because for me, like I said, I didn't think we were going to get 7. I wasn't expecting that at all. I would have loved that, like anyone would have. But I thought the easiest thing for them to do, instead of saying, let's, make a new chapter, which would have been, really, that would have been the perfect solution. Let's make a new chapter for, 20 years. But even without that, I was like, we're going to get, like, a huge, crazy HD collection of just all the games, or at least the main games. I didn't think they'd do every, console game. But I was like, it's either going to be that, or we're going to get, the beautiful words of 2 and 3, remake. And then we got this, and it was just incredibly disappointing, and it really sucks. Like, I don't even know what to expect going into this. Like, just all of next year, all I'm going to be thinking is, like, this kind of blows. Like, they have, and they have, like, the dates and stuff, and they have it set as, like, March, I believe it was 22nd or something. So it's like a day off from the actual 20-year anniversary. And I don't know if that means that's when the game is really coming out, which I feel like would be early as far as an announcement goes, from, oh, it's September to, March of next year. That's not a lot of time. That's like half a year, basically. And then, this. And of course, they've been working on the game for who knows how long, because we haven't had Resident Evil really put out for quite some time. And Resident Evil Revelations 2 came out, well, that was this year. So they could have been working on both. With this being 4v4, it really makes me worried, though, because it's like, with Revelations 2 having come out, and that being a full-on story-based game for the franchise, if they're doing both at the same time, and we already got the really great Resident Evil game this year, what are we going to get out of this, which is just going to be 4v4, which no one, people already don't care about. Like, it really makes me upset. Like, it's really sad to see this great franchise have this for its 20th anniversary. Like, if this was the next game, it would suck no matter what. But the fact that it really is the 20th anniversary is what makes it so horrible. Like, honestly, it just blows. Like, we need Revelations 3 coming out. I would have been all over that. The remakes, which, I mean, obviously we've all wanted those since they redid the first game. It was like, alright, next thing happening is going to be 2 and 3 remade, even before 4 comes out. But, we don't have that. We don't have a big collection here. We have Umbrella Corps. We have 4v4 multiplayer and zombie shields and little arm shields. That's what we have. And ice picks, to kill people. Or not ice picks, but like, whatever they're called. I can't even remember what they're called, but it doesn't matter, because it just kind of blows. And I wanted to do this because it was worth talking about. It's recent enough to where, it's not super far behind. But my favorite franchise, and for 20 years, this is what we're getting. I honestly hope, and I know this just doesn't happen outside of games just not getting made. We typically don't get trolled with announcements. So aside from this game just never coming out, which I think people would actually be okay with in this case, I highly doubt we're being tricked and we're going to get something amazing. I'd love for that to be the case. And, if at like the Sony experience, the PlayStation experience when that comes out, if it's something else, because this was at Sony's press conference where I saw this, maybe it'll be something else. Maybe we'll get some more info, which I don't think will change too much. I'm curious because it's still Resident Evil, but like I said, I didn't even get whatever it was, Operation Raccoon City, because the reviews were so bad. I did stay away from it. Like, it wasn't important. Like I said, it was also the same thing. Like, I feel this one's gonna be. It's an integral. Like, it's in between stuff that we already know, and maybe it'll do a little better where it won't just flat out change stuff from the second and third game. But even if it doesn't, it's based on Umbrella Corps. Unless Hunk is in there, literally useless. And even in that case, everyone's just going to go to YouTube and be like, alright, Hunk had this little mission that we didn't know about. And he was in Operation Raccoon City, if I remember right. So, even then, it's just like, what can this possibly offer us as a Resident Evil game? Like, I'm not even going to bother mentioning it being the 20th anniversary game. Just as a Resident Evil game, I don't really see what this can do for us. I don't see what they were even thinking, honestly. I mean, there's just nothing like an announcement for an 8. I mean, they couldn't do an HD remake. It would have to be like full remakes of 2 and 3. But even those just being brought to PS4 online, which they probably already are, but just something as minuscule as that would have been more of a reveal or more of an announcement than here's the 20th anniversary art. That was the coolest thing, was like the 20th anniversary art and seeing all the titles just put together, and it's like, what new title is going to be added to this amazing collection of games, and then it's Umbrella Corps. So I'm really upset by it. I think it has the most minuscule cool points, which are some of the combat elements, but this is not what people want from Resident Evil. We want 7 or 2 and 3 completely redone, or even if it was like a giant collection. Like, if they redid Outbreak, I would love that, because I never got to play those games, and I wouldn't really buy them now. Like, I played the first one a little, but I wouldn't buy them now because I wouldn't get to experience really like the online component and stuff like that. So I would love it if those came back. Like, that would be amazing if they said, even if it wasn't 2 and 3, which are obviously, those are some people's favorites as well. Even if it was the Outbreak games, it's something better than this brand new experience that is sort of tainted already by a crappy game that's almost the same experience, just different people. But I rambled on enough as far as just whatever this is. Like, I'm really hoping, like I said, that we've been tricked and there's something bigger, but that just doesn't happen. Like, it just doesn't, unfortunately, but I hope it does. That's like my only hope, is that this happens, or there's another Resident Evil game. This was like their first announcement, but they have the actual thing, whether it's 7 or 2 and 3 full remakes, or just 2, just one of them. It could literally be half of 2 completely redone, and I'd buy it. But this is not what I want, and I definitely want to know what you guys want, which I'm sure is not this, so not much of a question, not really reason to ask. But I do want to know what you guys thought about this announcement. If there was something to happen, like if you could say what you wanted, and you can only pick one thing, would you choose 7, or would you choose like a 2 and 3 remake? At this point, I think if they're gonna remake them, they should just do 2 and 3 all at one time. They would never sell them to us both at one time, and I wouldn't expect that, considering how much work would go into literally remaking the games completely. I wouldn't expect them to do that, so that would be totally fine if they did it at the same time that just came out. You had to buy them separately, but what we got just isn't good. Like, I would probably go with 7, because I love the advancement of the story. But I want to know what you guys would have chosen if you could have picked, an ultimate collection of, all the games, maybe. Just literally everything, the good with the bad, at least console-wise and not like handheld stuff. Would you go with the remakes or would you go with 7? What do you think, of course, about this announcement? The way it was presented, I watched some stuff. It was funny. I was watching game trailers, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of the live reaction videos that they put out. And they, of course, had a really good one with this, where it's like the presentation was amazing. It's like all the numbered games, the new logo, and then it's like, here's what we got. And they were, of course, disappointed. Like pretty much everyone was. Like when I first saw it, like I said, my initial reaction was just like, okay, this. I was honestly really nice, even though I didn't need to be. I was just like, I'm kind of interested, but in the end, it's just a disappointment to the franchise that no one wants, and it's just like soul crushing. With it being this disappointment coming out as the 20th anniversary game, like this is the staple game for 20 years of Resident Evil. This is what we have. So I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know. Of course, thanks for watching, and I definitely want to know, if you had your way, would you choose for a 7, or would you have gotten, 2 and 3 completely remade? Because no matter what, we've all been disappointed, so we might as well dream. But thanks for watching.